Welcome back, you guys. This is the Art School Graduate. Today, let's see. This guest is wildly talented, an award-winning art director, dynamic public speaker, and some of you may know or may not know, a neo soul hip hop artist. I'm talking about she's worked with powerhouses like HBO, the NBA, Coca-Cola, crafting soulful sound spaces. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to and so happy to have on the podcast Katrina Lenzly. Katrina, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's just jump right into it. You're multifaceted. What brought you to this point of creativeness?
I've always been a creative kid, like
Mhm.
most of us creatives. I started out kind of just like drawing and sketching, as a young person. And that was something that my mom took notice of and really wanted to nurture and pour into. So she was the one who started, investing in, art arts and crafts and resources. She's a teacher, so I think she also just had that vision, for seeing, the
Mhm.
potential in a young person. And yeah, that went from me, drawing and writing stories, writing little books in classes and, just bad jokes probably, in elementary school, to publishing some books in my county, here in Georgia. And that sort of went into, illustrating and publishing, and writing my own books, and then that sort of went into music writing, and then that's went into, um, designing and sketching out, like, ideas for songs, and, you know, the it the world just started getting broader and broader and, more expanded, and expanding, my creative range, and then that led me to, going to college, going to art school.
Nice. So when people approach you and they ask you, what do you do? Well, how do you introduce yourself? Is it just creative or do you say, hold on, you guys, let me roll this paper out for you. So I do this, this, and this, and this. How do you address people when they ask, hey, what do you do?
Yeah, it usually depends, on who's asking the question and what context and how much time we have, but typically, I'll tell folks, I'm a multi-hyphenate creative, I am a neo-soul hip-hop artist, but I also work as, an art director in the marketing advertising space, and I do some public speaking, and then typically, if their eyes haven't, glazed over.
Yeah. So since you've been on this creative path, did you always know, like, hey, I want a career in this, or was it kind of something you fell into?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd say a little bit of both. In high school, this world of design was not, a conversation. It wasn't, a prevalent topic. So I was in high school with 2 things on my brain, besides, like, boys. It was music and sports, like
Right.
basketball, marching band. All of my focus was on, just I wanted to go into the WNBA, and if not that, I wanted to
Mhm.
be a marching band leader, section leader, and, once I got to college, and I remember in college or, my senior year of high school, I started applying to colleges,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at who got the best team, like, "Okay, like,
Right.
Tennessee might be looking for a new point guard,"
Yeah.
when both my parents said, "I don't think that's for you, baby." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Um,
Done this my whole life. What are you talking about?
Done it my whole life, and, I think they just realized, uh, both of my brothers are basketball players, and
Mhm.
and sort of what I wanted to,
Mhm.
follow their steps in.
Yes.
My mom one day was sitting at the computer, pulled me into the room, was like, "I know you just got accepted to these schools. We're gonna look at some of these schools." And I was like,
Wow.
"Ugh," like, "What is SCAD?" Um, I was so hell bent on, like, I'm about to be a baller.
Yeah.
And, she found if I remember correctly, she found SCAD, or maybe they reached out in some way, or I was looking at art schools.
Mhm.
I do remember looking at an art school in Chicago. I was like, "Oh, Imma go to Chicago. Imma be like Love Jones." And, yeah, we were talking about SCAD, and once I was sort of led down, or curved
Yeah.
into the art career path,
Mhm.
that's when I was thinking, "Oh, well, I like to draw, so maybe something in there," but,
Yeah.
that's a long way of answering your question, but in school, yeah, the design and advertising and, motion graphic and that sort of thing, was not there. It was a very simplistic way of approaching vision.
Your mom's a teacher, brothers are ballers. So I'm taking it that this isn't a very let's get everybody in their yurts and go barefoot, walk around hugging trees, artistic group. Everybody, we're gonna sit outside. So yes, how did they react to your creativity early on? Being that they're not a super creative family, they're probably more the traditional route of most families.
Yeah. Well, I'm adopted, so I think there was already mm, some understanding, some unspoken understanding that Katrina's a little different. So I was always doing something and I couldn't be stopped.
Right.
You know, I got in trouble a lot in school. I think you can probably tell that maybe already. And so I would come home and get and be on punishment. I don't know what they call punishment, like, in your
It's,
family, like, on lunch
it's
now.
punishment.
Punishment,
Punishment.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm on punishment, and I just can't be stopped. I'm going to find a way to entertain myself. Take everything out of my room, all the toys, all the whatever. I'm gonna draw on the carpet. I'm going to just give me a piece of paper and I can figure it out.
Right.
And so there was just an understanding, especially, with our faith that, God gives you gifts and, they're, it's unquestionable, and you know, uh, can't be shifted, in any way. So there was that understanding, and there was some excitement, I think. I think, like, I always thought it was so cool, that my brothers wanted to come to my room sometimes to just to see, like, what I was working on. Yeah, they're much older than I am. So, as much as I wanted to be in their rooms where, with the the PlayStation, they would be
Right.
in rooms like, "What's that?" Like, "Oh, okay," like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, everyone was very supportive. I got lots of, Christmas
Mm,
art supplies to last me. I still have some, like, still, to last me for decades, so
mm. So your journey to SCAD, I have an interesting story about SCAD. I actually, they were doing a hiring fair and they came out to California. And since I have family out there, I was like, man, I can go back to Georgia. I would love it. And like it worked out, but then it was just like it somehow the parts didn't connect, and I ended up not teaching there at SCAD, but I'm really still, like, good friends with the guy on LinkedIn that was, like, recruiting me. And every time they have a hiring fair, "Hey, just wanna let you know we're hiring for design professors out here," 'cause I yeah, so I teach, design out here in, California for graphics, and so I told him, I was like, "Hey, I'm kinda working on something out here." "Not yet, not yet." He every time they have a hiring fair, he'll send me a little message, "Hey, just letting you know, SCAD is hiring." Yes. So, with you going to SCAD, probably the unorthodox route that you said that which led you to SCAD, what were those early years like? How was that being in this space where it's kinda not sports driven?
not sports driven. There's a few ways I can answer that.
Okay.
Not sports driven was not, that was I kind of had come to accept, like, okay, this is not
Mhm.
gonna be a sports school. It's not gonna be this is not gonna be my different worlds experience,
Right.
in terms of, the camaraderie or, like, the socializing of it.
Mhm.
The most jarring part about going to SCAD was I was coming from an all-black high school with kids that I'd known since preschool, black kids that
Mhm.
I'd known since preschool, to a majority black high school,
Mhm.
marching band, basketball, football, like, cornerstones of our community, to
Yes.
SCAD, where I'm suddenly the only black girl in the class. Not only am I the only black
Mhm.
girl in the class, I'm the only black girl in my dorm. I'm the only black girl walked
Yep.
in with, you know, headphones in or
Mhm.
dressed the way that I'm dressed. Um, there was also, I spoke about this, a few years ago. There was also just a notable difference in the education.
Mm,
Some of the kids came to class with already an understanding of design,
mhm.
design principles, and I felt like I was not just playing catch up, I felt like I missed a quarter. I
Yeah.
I felt like people were understanding a culture that I was not a part of,
Mm,
especially when it comes to design.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, being in a being a black face in a white space was very new to me, and it was only compounded by the actual academics and the language that we were speaking.
Did you ever feel that in imposter syndrome, where it's like, why am I in this space? What do I need to did that ever hit you or sit with you?
It's a great question too. I'm a very confident person,
Mm,
and at no point in time did I feel like I was in the wrong or that I was,
got
in the wrong space.
mhm,
I just couldn't figure it out. I just felt like something wasn't clicking in,
mhm,
just my ability to connect with the material.
mhm.
Now that I am 10 years
Seasoned. Yeah.
I'm realizing there wasn't a problem with what
Got you.
I understanding it. There's a
Got
problem with
you.
the actual curriculum. We weren't learning about Black designers or Black design aesthetic or,
No.
all those things. So it wasn't my fault.
No, because I feel you when you said that, going into these spaces, because I've been there too. Like I've been there where I walk in and I'm looking around, I'm like, all right, okay, all right. This is how it's gonna go. Because my background is graffiti. So I'm not coming in with a traditional understanding of fine art and design. I
Mhm.
love typography just because what graffiti is the art of lettering. So that's where I come in. I wasn't coming in with the traditional backgrounds that what is it? Ceramics, photography, painting. That's why I asked that. Did you ever feel like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, I also felt like I never felt sorry for myself, but I
Mhm,
definitely realized that there was a technical
mhm.
uh
Gap.
a technical gap.
Yeah.
I'm coming from still sketching on paper. I probably would have been, elite in, a 1970s, 1980s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But, they're using computer programs I didn't even know that existed. If,
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
I'm using Flickr to edit photos while, everyone's figuring out Photoshop, you know,
Yeah, I see what you
at
mean.
such an extended level. Yeah.
Mm, okay. So being in this space now where you're learning these new tools, these new design elements, um, you said you found your design voice in the most unexpected place, a skate shop. Can you share how that experience like just shaped your creative identity and your journey that it kind of pushed you on now?
Yeah. So, during my time at SCAD in Savannah, there is a skate shop called Elevated. Um, and I was working as a promotions director at our radio station at SCAD. And my job was to go to different businesses around Savannah and basically, plug the radio station and also make, you know, connections to see if people wanted to advertise on our station.
Mm, okay.
I walk into the skate shop with limited skate experience, very limited streetwear experience, but I walked in and it was just so different from the landscape that is, Savannah. If you've been to Savannah or Savannah, you're talking mom and pop shops and, old Southern aesthetic and,
Mhm,
a lot of conservatism to walk into this shop where they're blasting odd future videos and there's
yeah.
T-shirts that are way overpriced, that have, like, really cool graphics on them that are not clean.
Mhm.
I came up in design, the design era of clean, very,
Professional. That business professional. Yes.
minimalism. Like,
Mhm.
to
The
walk
Rand
in and
Paul
see
era. Yep.
Yes. Oh, yes, exactly. The Michael Beirut, the Paul, like all of those things. To walk in and see colors clashing and,
Mhm.
text that doesn't, the typography that's does not each place. I was like, this is really interesting. I ended up performing at that space. The owner of that space, who's now my manager and partner, He opened that space to a lot of people and created this community that also I wasn't used to. Now I'm seeing design, and culture blending with community platforming,
That's dope.
and I hadn't met that sort of, I haven't seen that hadn't seen that integrated, before. So I'm performing at the skate shop and, doing my thing, and, um, my junior year of college, I was trying to get an internship anywhere,
Mhm,
just who wants me? I've applied to maybe 100 places.
mhm,
My portfolio, I wouldn't say it was bad necessarily for, where I was, but you could tell that there is just something still I was trying to be, and maybe that was that imposter syndrome. I was trying to be and fit into, "Oh, really clean, guys," like, I'm not used to clean, but I can make it clean.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, I was just getting no, no after no for this internship for free work. They don't want me. I was like, "Oh, okay." So I remember just complaining about it to minting about it the store owner, Mark, and, he was like, you should just intern here." And I was like, "What a crazy thing to say. I can't just intern here, like, I have to interview." And he was
Right.
like, "None of this has to be formal. If you need a job and, it would be expensive for you to have to do another year of, college for this credit, just intern here." And so I was kinda, "Okay, maybe." And, anyway, I ended up doing a summer internship with them, and they had a really talented creative director, whose mantra was, "Make dope shit. Just make cool stuff." Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Okay. I was like, "What? Okay."
Mhm,
And cool was so subjective. Is it cool or is it not? Do I think it's cool? Do you think it's cool? Who gets to And that was so freeing, and so the freedom of it, being able to, like, fully, like, stretch and, incorporate my background, incorporate, things that I hadn't really felt comfortable to try in class, was really what I needed to completely say, "F this class, F
mhm.
all of you haters. I'm going to just do what I think is dope," and, that's been my mantra since then.
Oh, wow. That's a fire mantra. I feel like if you come from that very street or urban aspect, that kinda "F it, Imma do what I want," it's kinda like the only battery you need to be
Wow.
put in your back, because I feel like a lot of stuff doesn't get made if you're very much, like, tailoring it to a certain crowd that may not even want you, you know? So I think that kinda effort in your system allows you to just gives you that momentum, and I think that's the best thing we can have sometimes.
There's also some competitiveness too. I don't know if
Mhm,
other designers feel this, but, coming from a sports background, there's just that effort and that, I'm about to break you down,
I'm
bro."
about to blow you out the water, yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, big, big, big fuel.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's almost empowering when you know, but others may not see it. You know what I mean? Like, you feel it, like that gut intuition, you're like, "Oh, this is gonna cook right here.
Yes, yes.
Okay, alright, y'all ain't gonna like it," but then when you put it out there, you see it, people look at you, you just, "I told you." Yes, absolutely. I've had those feelings, and I know exactly what you're talking about. So now that we're in this world of creating and designing, and now you're moving on to bigger brands and you're stepping into these different, more polished, professional settings. How do you design for such big names coming from um, the background of how about say street skating? You know, like you're with big brands now. You have big brands looking at you and talking to you. So how did that connection from this little skate shop in Savannah open up to this massive emporium of clients now?
Yeah, you want the story or you want, like, the just, like, conceptually?
Girl, we got time.
Say no more, Justin. So my first job, so I'm coming from skatewear, streetwear, clothing that has like all kinds of profanity on it, to my first big girl job being Chick-fil-A. I get, an 18-month internship there, and I remember before we even walked in, the main
Mhm.
headquarters, the doors, we got stopped as if our mom was telling us, "Before we go up in here." I remember, my supervisor stopping us and saying, "Before y'all walk in here,
Oh,
this is like grandma's house." Like, when we go to the innovation center, which was their design studio lab center, um, that's a free for all. Like, create, do what you want respectfully. When we go up in this headquarters where Mr. Sir Truett Cathy
mhm.
laid his ideas down, y'all need to act like you got some sense. I was like, "Say no more. Okay, alright, button up." Um and it was a g my experience there was a perfect contrast to skate and streetwear because it reminded me, "Oh, there is a language or a life, culture that I need to understand." My minor was in business at SCAD, so I did my major in graphic design, my minor in business, so I already understood,
Yeah.
technically, the business side of things, but the business culture, the corporate culture of things was very different for me. And I got a crash course and what it looks like to take a brand core value
Yeah.
and precisely and thoughtfully disseminate it to everyone all the way down to from the head all the way down to, you know, the 17-year-old cashier
Right.
at your restaurant. That was just a great way to observe really culture, like
Mhm.
how you design culture, how you design community, how you design spaces, how you build a team
Mhm.
appropriately. And then from there, it was off to, designing for, Coca-Cola, Jeep, NBA, Warner Media, all these different places that also had different design aesthetics. But my streetwear, like
Mhm.
that core radicalism,
Mhm.
that spirit of like, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
Um, really, I think in some ways propelled me in a social way and also into art direction, to where I could easily, present a pretty wild idea, but communicate it in a way that didn't feel as scary to a client.
Okay. So, did you ever encounter a specific, like, challenging piece while working with these larger clients? Because I feel like the larger clients are probably the more picky, where they're very much maybe to me, I'm thinking, working with these larger clients, did you ever encounter something that they were like, or was it just flat out no, and they kinda didn't give you any creative direction off of that?
Oh, that was every day. I mean, the way I look at it is that, trust has to be built even with clients and vendors and,
Mhm.
creatives. So if they've given you the money, or they're promising you the money, but that doesn't mean that, they fully trust that your vision will be they're the ones who have to take the risk
Right.
in executing and implementing it, especially at a time where social media is canceling everybody left and right. There's no,
Mhm.
the headroom, for brands to get it wrong is very, is shortening by
Mhm.
the day,
Yeah.
or if not, has already shortened.
Yeah.
And, we have to I think, as designers, as creatives, as agencies, we really have to, figure out how to advocate for ourselves and educate clients, while also towing the line of understanding, the people who are inside of these agencies, inside of these corporations are terrified. They are being, criticized and I've been in corporate, I've been in, external agencies,
Mhm.
I freelanced. I know from, my experience in these, corporate spaces that there is an anxiety
Mm.
from the layoffs to just the shame or maybe shame's not a great word, the, critique, the
Mm.
criticism,
Mhm.
that really keeps people in a safe space. Our
Mhm.
jobs are
Yeah.
to, kind of pull them, inch them as much as we
That
can. It really is a relationship, and disrupting is, we all talk about, "Oh, we're disrupting the industry," but disruption also requires some level of
Mhm.
care and
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm. Totally. Now, in this so-called disruption and care, how did you make these breaks from the traditional branding to these more experimental and environmental designs that you were pushing and kinda opening these corporations to?
Yeah, I was just testing things out. I would get a project, I would get a campaign. It might be something as simple as, "Oh, we need a new logo or a visual identity system or, X, Y, and Z for this thing." I was always a person that felt like, "Well, where is it gonna live? Can I execute that? Can I show, what this might look like in these different iterations?" And so, the first opportunity I got to do that was actually for, an external agency. Our client was Coca-Cola. They wanted us to, like, design a traditional end cap, which are,
Mhm.
if you're familiar with print production, it's, just the ugly end caps that when you go to Kroger or
Yeah.
Publix, however bougie you are, uh, you see them and you're like, "Oh, take this thing."
Yeah.
They wanted something more experiential. I was like, "Oh, what if we started pulling in some graffiti? What if we started pulling in,
Mm.
artisanal, like, looks, just
Mhm.
trendy things," and, this is before Blender, so
Mhm.
I literally was in Illustrator, like, creating these angles,
Yeah, yeah.
shout out to Adobe CS4, like, good angles and, like, mapping things onto it within Photoshop,
Mhm.
just so they could see, and they weren't expecting it. They were expecting, like, Final for my
Flat.
arch
Yeah.
flat. Um, and I remember I spent, like, hours on it, like, stayed at work because I was just excited. Stayed at work for hours, came back the next morning, printed them all out, showed my creative director, and he was just like, "We need this bigger. I want to see it on." And I was like, "Oh, you really like it?" And yeah, from there on, it became like, "Oh, Katrina does print production. She understands print," which,
Wow.
I did. Katrina understands environmental. Katrina understands, photo editing and making selects and, all these other things. Just in me being excited about the work and not being afraid to, just throw it out there, show
Mhm.
your work. Austin Kleon, like, my favorite author.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you find that balance of working on big brands, but also keeping your identity or your thumbprint somewhere in that work? How did you balance that? Because sometimes as designers, I know myself, it's like if I'm working for somebody that needs something like this, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard for me to kind of put my little spin on it. So how did you manage that to keep your thumbprint or your somewhat identity within those pieces?
That's a really good question. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes the work does not need in my opinion,
Mhm.
it don't need no Katrina. Like, it does not need any Cooley on this. Like, it already has a thumbprint, and that's the
Mhm.
brand aesthetic.
Mhm.
That's the art direction, that's the creative direction, the brand identity. Um, for projects that were, that required that, where I was given that freedom,
Mhm.
absolutely. Like, if you want, like, a full Cooley project or a full Katrina project, I can give you everything in my arsenal, which
Mhm.
comes, which is music related, which is, streetwear related, which is all kinds of, uh, references, but also those things are for me.
Mhm.
And so I find sometimes the balance is, well, if I give you too much of me, what is there left for me? If I give you
Right.
me what I learned early on, based on that last story, when you do too much, you start getting too much.
Right.
Paying you for any of.
That's very true.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's a great question. And as much as I wish,
Mhm.
I could put more of my print and style
Mhm.
onto every project. I'm kind of happy that I've found some boundaries and appreciation for my own life and life experiences that
Mhm.
allows me to hold some of those things for my own stuff.
Okay. So before we jump off of this section, because this is one I'm very curious about. Your creative process. I know every designer has the room got to be a certain temperature. I got to have my coffee, juice, tea, snacks. I need to make sure everything's charged. I need headphones. Like, what is your creative process when you are going into the lab to make something?
Yeah. I didn't realize people were that picky.
Oh, yes.
Are they?
Yes. Oh,
Are people
yes.
doing all
I've
that?
I've worked with some that I just look at, I'm like, "Bro, you're just doing, like, a few things. You don't need to you're doing way too much, big dog. Yeah, I just need you to do a few things. It ain't all that."
Your exporting files, please. That's
Can't even get that right. But yeah. So, this creative process for you, how do you step into it? What is the first thing that leads to the last thing?
yeah. I get them brief. I typically will sit with it for a little bit, kind of let it absorb.
Mhm.
Okay. And maybe even get like some of my first initial like excitements out. Um,
Got you.
I've noticed with I don't know, me personally, if I get too excited about it, I don't need to be too excited about it. I need to be calm.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I need to be focused, and I need to also get my initial excitement out so that I can more clearly see what they're asking for from a
Mhm.
business perspective and from a creator's perspective. And then, and then I go fuck off. I'll take a walk, maybe. I'll go eat food. I'll go call my sister or, my partner. I just want to completely pretend like I did not just get this assignment.
Wow.
It's just easier to decompress. It's interesting. I'm doing some work with a local retreat group slash sanctuary,
Uh-huh.
and the work that they do a lot of our meetings start with, like, a grounding, like a really nice grounding meditative process, and in a way, me effing off is trying to ground all those things so that I can think really clearly.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of execution, that looks like me, okay, I'm getting on to, whatever file setup I need to set up. Um Putting together, like, some inklings of, like, again, just getting it out, like, "Oh, I thought about this, I thought about that, I thought about that." Sometimes I'll sketch, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll sketch in what I call sketching in Illustrator. Yeah, and then there's always a point, maybe a bell curve, I haven't visualized it just yet, but it's interesting to visualize it now.
Mhm.
There's a point where, I'm just incredibly frustrated with a project. I feel like everything that I've made up until now looks awful. I've now spent hours on it, and I'm just like,
Oh,
"This
man.
is
Yep.
goofy. This is what are we" and then I'm mad at the client suddenly. They don't even wanna like, that don't make no sense. Um, and then suddenly there is a flow that happens, whether I'm listening to, like, music or I love watching TV, so TV is always on in some way. And then suddenly it just clicks and there's like a flow and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, I'm in it. Okay, alright, I figured it out."
Yeah.
And that's the exciting part, and then that's the excitement that I tried to get away from at the beginning. So, yeah.
So, did you take any of that grounding to add into your personal practice, or is it kinda like you're just experimenting with it because this group that you're working with is, like, super heavy into it? Is this something that you think you'll keep?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
There's another organization that I work with called A2 Collective. We've been discussing, design therapy and, like, there's so much so as a music artist, we understand that musicians deal with such a strong level of creative input and sensitivities
Mhm.
that, that's why you see a lot of artists, a lot of music artists, dealing with substance abuse issues or mental health problems. Like, I think being like a singer songwriter that's struggling in some way is kind of like just a an understood archetype.
Mhm.
But when we
Yeah.
talk about design for some reason, the mental health aspect of it, just it's black and white. Either you're burnout or you're on vacation. There's no
Pretty much. That is it.
here, I don't even know, what happened. We don't even discuss it, but we're working on so many projects that might be,
Mhm.
self-care, mental health, transparency, empathy, all these different DEI, all these beautiful words that we can't even implement into our own design practice. So to answer your question, yes, I would love to, and I'm excited to do more work with A2 Collective and really, uh, materializing, some of those thoughts around, like, design culture is kinda toxic. The ad in
100%.
Yeah.
What? What?
Yeah.
It's like you if you're choosing to go into design, you're choosing
Mm.
to know you're gonna get your shit wrecked. Like, you're choosing to know that that's coming. It may be sooner than later for some people, but you're choosing violence every day when you choose to become a designer.
Yeah. When did it happen for you? I'm curious, like
My internship,
Oh, ooh, okay, or
yeah, it came early.
okay.
Probably a little bit of ego, but also
Mm, mm,
that kinda effort was in me because I was looking at the work was coming out and it was very safe, and I was very much like, "N no, we need to do this," and, like, it was the boss, so I kinda told him, "No," like, "Let's just do something like this and that," and I was like, "No," and he was like, "What do you mean, no?" I was like, this isn't exciting." He was like, "It doesn't need to be." I said that, I was like, "It's not exciting," and he was like, "It doesn't need to be," and in my head, I'm like, "Yes, it does." And so, once I designed that thing, I feel like he felt like, "Oh, this is gonna be a problem."
yeah.
So, it was a very polite, like and we were cool about it, but mine's hit early because it was just I had to come to realize that some people don't need the
Mhm.
full wow, they're okay with basic. But it's just like, if you're okay with basic, why are you doing this business? Like, why are you creating a business if you're okay with basic? Why are you in business to be a designer, a creator, a brander, marketing, logo design, typeface design? Why are you doing it to just be basic? Like,
Yeah.
that was me, and so mine hit early where I was like, "I guess I need to humble myself real quick and just suck it up for a paycheck." That's where I got to, until I was able to start making my own stuff, and I could just be like, "No, I don't wanna do that project. No, I'm not
Mhm,
feeling that."
mhm.
Because I definitely feel like if you don't give yourself space to have a little bit of freedom within it, you'll always be tied to chasing that check, and I didn't wanna be tied to chasing that check.
Yeah.
I wanted to be tied to creating, like, dope shit. That's pretty much it. Like, that's where I was at with it, so that mine hit early, and then I was able to adjust as the career progressed.
It's better to hit, I think, early than
Mhm.
you're jaded.
Not when you got people relying on you, car notes, student loans, rent. Oh my god, you don't need to have that issue there.
Mhm. Existential crisis?
Yes.
No, no.
Absolutely not, absolutely not. But there are a couple of things you did touch on that I'm curious about. So, I remember earlier you had spoke on, um the Black narratives in design. Then you just spoke on, DEI in design and how we're unable to push our own culture into this. So I'm curious, like, what are some of the biggest hurdles you faced with one, you being vocal about it, but also you being in a lot of these spaces where it's kind of like hush hush now. So for you, what are some of the hurdles you've encountered or faced?
Ooh, okay. Um,
This is a safe place. This is a safe place.
there is, alright, so you're working in a creative agency in the confines of capitalism under the, for lack of a better phrase, subjugation of white supremacy. The burden, the weight that is already carried for Black professionals in the workplace to code switch is already something we discuss and understand. So much so that we joke about it. To also have to code switch your design, to code switch your artwork, to code switch your style, um, can make you very jaded or radicalize you, or a third thing. The troubles that I ran into, or the good trouble, the frustrations I ran into were trying to was grappling with all of these creative people which I view creativity as I don't know, maybe this isn't, like, fully correct, but I kind of view creativity as, like, a very, like, liberal thing. Like,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
it would confuse me when, I'm listening to my creative director being racist. When he's picking on the brown boy in, in our workplace, when he's bringing when a project manager is making, misogynistic jokes, or when I'm watching projects that are, for the Black community, get pigeonholed into urban. We're looking for urban markets. I'm like, these Black people with money that you're marketing to these people. Why are they good enough to be marketed to, and you're asking for their money, but they're not good enough to be humanized? I'm confused.
Mhm.
Um, there was just a lot of grappling also with the feeling of being an absolute fucking sellout, and being like, "Man, I'm now" okay, height of 2020 BLM, I'm getting calls left and right. "Katrina, Cooley, are you interested? We would need we would love to have your." Yes, yes, yes. Ooh, check. Love it. Life is great right now. I'm working remote and getting to do Black stuff. Awesome.
Right.
But also, and then I started getting into those rooms, and I'm listening to how you're also talking about these initiatives.
Mhm.
One colleague referred to I'm sorry, one client referred to the work that we were doing to help build, usable spaces, sustainable spaces in Black communities as charity, and yeah, I was like, "I thought we were oh, that's how you feel about it." I had one CEO call, the work we were doing to merge, the the Black creative, team that we had in Black Hollywood, Atlanta, um, and try to create, like, a feeder program into our workplace. She said that, "Hey, I know we're doing a lot of work with, these Black schools and trying to connect with them, but I just don't give a F about HBCUs." Oh, that's how you feel about it.
Do they not see you? Like, do they not see your blackness, your skin tone? They don't, they're just shooting from the hip, not caring.
I it baffles me as well, just to
Just thought I'd ask.
yeah, I got off that call so quick and called my mama, like, "Mom, you won't believe,
They
like,
cutting up out here.
they saying the quiet part's too loud." I think that there's a feeling of safety because you're with your friends,
Mm.
especially, not to, like, jump subjects necessarily, but there's also a culture of nepotism in the design and ad industry that when you went to college with, or are friends with, or your kids play with, or whatever with,
Yep.
this is my community. This is my design community. After work, we go play cornhole and drink craft beers. You are the outskirts of that community. I feel safe to say and do what I please. So now suddenly the onus is put back on us, Black creatives, to speak up and risk, you know, whatever whatever that looks like. So that became a challenge for me. I come from an incredibly pro-Black household. If you'd have told me when I was, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, on my soapbox with my fist up, that I was gonna be working with
This,
this?
I got you. This.
No way. Katrina would never do that. What?
No, I grew up in pro-Black household too. Like, we celebrated Kwanzaa. We had during the summer, we had to watch Roots and write a book report on it. So we were even though we were in California, I had the Southern roots deeply attached, and I so grateful for it. But no, I've been in spaces like that too, where I'm just like, just because I'm lighter doesn't mean I'm not that. Like,
Don't get it
don't get it twisted. But
twisted.
many a times I've called my mom, I said, "Man, these people tripping." I've said it.
What's she like?
She was like, "Oh, baby, they've been that way."
Oh, yeah.
She was like, "And it's gonna continue."
Yeah.
That it sucks, but she is very right. We are watching it happen. We are experiencing it. So she is very much just like, you're there for a reason. Make sure you stand out and just do your ancestors proud. That's literally what she says. So I'm like, okay, that works for me.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah, she's triple OG right there.
Hey.
So where where do you see things now for designers or black designers? Where do you see us now? Where do you see us in these spaces?
I was just talking to a friend, and I was saying how excited I was that the conversation around DEI, or really the lack of conversation, the dismantling of DEI and the downsizing. I've been affected by downsizing recently. I don't even want to call it downsizing. It really is something much different, but
Mhm,
another conversation. There are now Black creatives that are now being freed up from the confines of their healthcare industry, of their ad industry, of their tech industry,
mhm,
that are roaming around. Their brains weren't taken, their talent wasn't taken, their jobs were taken, and a lot of us didn't like those jobs anyway. I told her, "I am so excited about the amount of radicalization and
mhm,
also, free time that these geniuses are about to have to
mhm,
do their own thing, to create their own things for us, by us, with us in mind." It's just it this is just the I mean, probably the contrarian in me and probably like the little kid bully in me that just loves chaos. I'm just like, "Oh, yes.
uh-huh.
They didn't choose us. They didn't choose you. You're about to fuck it up." These
Yeah,
it's Well, the prologue for so many different stories. I was fired, I wasn't, accepted, I wasn't whatever for this and for that, and then I did this. So as as frustrating as this administration is, as frustrating as the industry is becoming, and has been, we all have similar stories of subjugation, of being unseen, unheard, dehumanized, demeaned, devalued, having our work completely disregarded. And I think that's just going to be such great fuel for great, I don't even want to say great, unimaginable work.
so what do you think, well, I don't do you think corporate needs to change, or do we need to just step into what they're kinda handing us and create our own? What do you think on that?
Yeah. I used to think corporate needed to change. I think, for a long time, maybe same with you, like, in that story that you told, like, "It's supposed to be fun." Like, it is. We're doing let's get serious. We are creating logos and playing on the computer all day. Like,
Yeah.
this should be fun. Why are we y'all talking about war rooms and shut up.
Yeah,
Take it
100%.
Let's be serious about what this is.
Mhm.
This isn't rocket science.
Right.
So I used to think that, and now I think we should be moving towards a different level of freedom. We should be creating our own platforms that far surpass the I don't even know if it's design anymore, that just far surpass the confines of traditionality. We spent our we spent our college careers, um, uh, our training years
Mhm,
learning under white supremacy. I should say, learning under white supremacy culture, which is something
mhm,
I talk about in a lot of my public speaking engagements, what that looks like.
mhm,
But we operate under systems of quantity over quality, over we operate under systems of urgency, over systems of strictness, over openness, over telling on each other. Like, that's not black culture. Like, that's not inherently, that is not,
mhm,
our core culture. Let's start making some systems that do champion the things that we, have innately.
mhm. Mm.
And I don't even know if that's here in America, Justin. I don't know. I don't know if that's here.
All I do is I just tell people to travel and
Mm,
then come back and you'll see. It's easy. Like you don't have to do much, just travel to a different country and
mhm.
see how culturally inclusive, culturally accepting culturally, everything is in, and especially when you look at design
Mm.
at at a distance,
Yes.
it's very much like, damn, like the Dutch designers are cooking. They coming over here because they've allowed their culture to be indoctrinated into their work. So it's like that's why it's like if you go to a lot of these different design houses and stuff, you see so many like foreign designers because it's like they've crafted it so well with
Yeah.
their culture.
Yeah.
And so, that's something I've noticed, and I'm okay with it. Like, I look at it and I'm just like, I'm just learning. I am learning, I am adapting, I'm everything but adapting. So I am part of that tribe that is just like, "Okay, show me what you got." "Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Imma
Yeah.
show you what I can do." So for young Black designers coming up, trying to break into this industry that still, as we both know, has gatekeeping challenges, what advice would you give them?
It's a great question. I give them so much advice. I give them a hug. Um, honestly, "Baby, do you wanna do this? Are you
What's
sure?"
that what's that meme? "Are you sure? You sure about that, bud? Are you sure about that?" Yeah. Oh, okay.
The advice I would give to them would be, hold something for yourself. I something that I've observed in the ad industry, in the marketing industry these last 10 years has been there's a sense of, personalization that is often criticized, but it's it is just jealousy. I've noticed that there are people whose entire identity is centered around design. That is bizarre to me. "You don't do nothing else? Y'all don't do nothing? Okay." And that's completely fine,
Mhm,
but there's other things that inform design that are
mhm,
beautiful, you know? Like, Da Vinci even talked about design being, the design of nature is design of man,
mhm,
right? So which if you adhere to that, those sort of, ideologies or, if that of that kind of ideology, you can understand that design is informed by everything else
mhm,
in your life, meaning that you need to go do stuff outside of the
mhm.
confines of your condo.
Right.
So that would be my advice, for people getting into the industry is, like, find passions
Mhm,
that that are outside of design. You'll find yourself fulfilled because this is not a
mhm,
fulfilling job. There's nothing about it is fulfilling other than maybe seeing your work on a really cool screen. But if your value comes from constantly seeing your work, highlighted, when
mhm,
that doesn't happen, you're going to be crushed. But if your value comes from, seeing beauty and having
mhm.
family and
Yeah.
community and friendships and TV shows you like and are just niches, like
Mhm,
ridiculous stuff, you can be a full person that lives in that works in this industry and
mhm.
can retain, your spirit because
Yeah.
they will crush it.
Crushed it many a time. I think being an athlete allows you to have that thick skin though, because I don't look at it as crushing. I look at it as more of a critique. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, you just don't know what you want
Yeah.
because what you told me is what I executed, but you're saying no now.
Mm.
So it's like either you're having a lot of conflict, and I can't be the one to help you decipher that.
Design therapy. That's what I'm looking for.
Listen, the way my degree is set up, I didn't do those clinical hours to sit here and help you figure out if blue or red are going to be the colors that are going to speak to your audience. That wasn't for listen, I fell asleep during that color theory class. So, as we continue on this just incredible journey you have, what are your tools of your trade? Are you a PC or a Mac girly? Are you a tablet? Are you a Wacom tablet? Are you an iPad?
Ooh,
An Apple Pencil.
okay.
Like, what is your what am I right here? Are you a Logitech or are you a what is this one right here? I don't even know what this one is. A MX Master. Like, what is your tools of the trade for you?
Got you. Justin, I'm whatever is free, whatever is
She said whatever is free.
no, I'm an Adobe girly. I don't care what it's on. I can probably that these are the benefits of growing up middle class. Like
Adapting.
and black yes, black middle class, black uh, black and, undereducated, for lack of a better phrase, like, Imma figure it out. Like, I don't feel, I feel like I could figure out anything at this point, because I had to in college. I didn't have no money. My parents were like, "You want a what? A MacBook? Girl, if you don't go get you that
Where you go get that Chromebook. What? They don't even have enough storage on it to save the work.
go get that iPod na like, flip phone like, figure it out. Stop talking to us. Talking about some you want an $1,100 computer? You are tripping." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess I am."
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious.
I should answer your question more directly. I'm a MacBook girl.
Okay. Okay, MacBook girly, but knows how to work with any tool. Okay, that works. That is an acceptable answer. So now that we're heading into this journey of still in design, but now we're taking this little bit of detour into music.
Yeah, okay.
My first question is, if you could design any album cover, either yours or any artist, dead or alive, who would it be and what concept would you try to pitch?
That is an incredible question. I have never considered that. Dead or alive?
Mhm.
That wasn't in the questions, Justin. Um,
Keep you on your toes.
right now I'm really into Bob Marley. Um, I feel like based on his design aesthetics, based on his ethos, that is a project that I would love to take on, but probably I don't wanna say couldn't, but, like
It's your dream. It doesn't matter. Money's not an option. If he was here and his family said, "Pull up," you would what would you do for that?
okay. Yeah, I wanna do something incredibly experiential, and experimental. I would want to do something that maybe transcends an album cover. Like, I might be the one like, "Do you even need an album cover?" I mean, doesn't music say
Alright, she's trying to prince us right now. She's trying to prince us right now. We're not gonna say anything. We're just gonna put a symbol on it.
I don't know. Oh, okay, so that's like pie in the sky, absolutely. Lauryn Hill is up there for me. I love her work. And then there's artists like Tyler, the Creator, that I'm like, "Ooh, we could do something really fun, like,
Mhm.
in, like, the print production with, like,
Yeah.
holographic or, like, maybe the album cover isn't
Yeah.
an actual album cover if we're talking about, like, physical print, like, maybe it's a
Yeah.
box that, like, I don't know, like, I just
Yeah.
let me spread my wings, like, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. That's interesting. I think Tyler would probably be a dope flip because I feel like he would be easy to like, Tyler just fuck it, start laughing and then it happens. Yeah. Okay. So now if he hears it, he might just reach out. So we're gonna put that in the Lord's hands and let him guide that. So you're a designer and a musician. How does your music inform your design work and vice versa?
That's a great question. Design informs my music in the sense of my design experience, working in these corporate spaces gives me a lot of background knowledge on marketing. Oh,
Mm,
I'm in some of these strat meetings where we talk about, uh, psychographics, demographics, strategic placement, ad dollars, ad spend, ad placement, organic versus uh, traditional, ad placement. That kind of knowledge, you would think it's more prevalent in the music industry, but it's not. A lot of people just want to do their music. For an independent artist, incredibly helpful to know because I get to be in the conversations also when the brands are talking about sponsorship deals and they're talking about this artist is this and this artist is that. I'm like, noted. Oh, this is what brands are looking for. Oh, this is what gets you a sponsorship. Oh, that's what a pitch deck looks like for this kind of work. I just feel like I get, like, all the you know
inside scoop.
yeah, I'm in the corner. I'm in the corner taking notes, like, I'm not even supposed to be in the meeting. Very much inside scoop in that way. Design also informs music because I feel like when I'm writing and when I'm recording, I am designing. Like,
Mhm.
a lot of people will explain their music process as, like, "I don't really think about, the audience, I just do"
Yeah.
which is perfectly fine. I do. I think about my audience. I think about, what they're going to respond to. I think about what their stories are.
Mhm.
I consider myself a storyteller. So, when I'm writing, I'll literally picture, a a narrative or a person, a main character and design, write,
Mhm.
explore around like, that person's feelings or emotions or this, that space. On the flip side, music informs design for me in that I've like I mentioned, in my advice to young Black artists, my life is so much fuller and, in my opinion,
Mhm.
cooler outside of design. Like I come to work when people are like, "What'd you do this weekend?" I'm like, "You don't even wanna know. You would be disgusted what I saw." Like, how late I stayed up. Stay up until 4 in the morning, like, watching some really amazing, uh, alternative band at this show in an underground where you had to, like, I don't know, like, show a part of your body to get into the doors. Like, y'all would be disgusted, with, like, how cool this world is. My music life, it allows me to express in a beautiful way. It allows me to meet people that I don't typically meet. Design world, you're at either your desk, or, in your room, in your house, designing if you work remote, or you're at a desk with other people who don't be doing nothing either. Not saying there aren't cool people, but we're designing from 9 to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
At this stage in my career, a lot of designers, art directors, creative directors, GDs, have kids and families. So, no, they're not staying up with you
Right.
to do nothing. Um, so yeah, I get to just pull in like, "Oh, when I was at this show last night, there was this really cool installation.
Yeah.
What if we tried X, Y, and Z and then, like, put these colors on it and they could like, I just feel like I'm constantly getting references.
Mhm.
I'm constantly seeing independent music artists sharing, like, the crafty ways that they've, like,
Yeah.
built something out
Yeah.
for an
Yeah.
Aguilera.
Yeah.
Just like, "Oh, this is much cooler than what this brand put out, like, we should be
Right.
taking them for this." Like, yeah. It's great.
So what would the visual identity be for your music? If it, let's just say, had a color palette, what would it be for for you and your music that you make, your neo soul? What would it splash up on the wall as?
Yeah. I think sonically, people often tell me that my voice sounds like soil or it sounds rich or it sounds, earthy.
Mhm.
Um, I get feedback a lot. I went to sleep to your music. Like, your music was really calming. I smoke to your music, which is interesting because I don't really I don't really smoke. But, it's nice to me to hear that people resonate in whatever the frequency of my voice is or whatever the frequencies I'm using, feel that way. And so as that translates to visual design, I don't know, I think, like, the color palette is rich in metals, like golds and, maybe
Mhm.
copper tones. I think there's some greens and blues in it, um, some reds too,
Mm.
like some earthy, like some Georgia clay.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and then I think there's also, like, I don't know, like a punch sometimes.
Mhm.
That, like, includes, like, maybe very, like, electric colors. Like, I like right
Mm.
now, I'm using this electric pink in my brand color palette. It's, like, a really nice pop,
Mhm.
that has been really fun to work with.
That's dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now let's think about it. What is the biggest thing you think the design industry could learn from musicians about storytelling and like cultural connections? Because music is literally storytelling. And depending on what genre you're in, it's literally a connection culturally to either country, hip hop, pop, Latin, jazz, wherever you're from, it's connected. So what do you think the biggest thing the design industry could learn from musicians?
That's another great question. I think that what musicians do naturally on their day to day is in their execution, they are directly connecting to their audience. They're at shows connecting to their audience. They're playing, in their bands, they're connecting to other musicians, other stories, other lifestyles, other cultures
Yeah, yeah.
all the time, not just, you know, at the end goal. That it's a
Yeah.
part of the daily practice of being an artist is connecting to other people, and sometimes it's not even consciously, like, not to be super weird and esoteric about it, but there's like a connective frequency as we're using our voices to manifest, to affirm,
Mhm.
to all these things where it's a very connective, practice, ancient in some ways. Design has built because we are using design for capitalistic purposes in a traditional sense, in the advertisement sense. Not only has it become disconnected from the art the artistry of it, uh, we're using what we're doing to sell products, some of what we don't believe in,
Right.
to people who often don't need them, um, for the purpose
Yeah.
like the design industry in that way is not connecting true truthfully to its audience, authentically to its audience, but also in the way that we designers individually connect with audiences or connect with, like, our target demographic.
Yeah.
We're never connected to them. I shouldn't say it like that. I'm so jaded. When we're doing ad campaigns for kids, do we go to the playground and, like, actually
Right.
see how kids No, we don't. We go on Behance or Dribble or wherever and find how are kids playing? What colors are available? What can
Right.
I You're just consistently extracting,
Mhm.
culture when it's right there. So,
Mhm.
I think that's what the design industry can take away from musicians. Like, we should be way more, uh, tactile
Mhm.
in the way that we go about this practice.
I believe that. I think a lot of research can be done just going outside.
Yeah. Touch some
Instead,
grass.
yes, hug a tree, do something.
Yeah.
All right. So, as we are getting ready to wind down, I just have a few more questions because this conversation has just been so fruitful. Where do you see yourself next 5 years? Where do you see you in this creative path and this creative career heading in the next 5 years?
Yeah. I would like to figure out how to in 5 years, I would like to have transcended this. I think that our design industry is broken,
Oh.
and I wish I felt differently.
Broken in which ways?
Broken in that connectivity that
Mhm.
I'm talking about, broken in the way that we engage with each other.
Mhm.
I think we've adopted a lot of ugly practices and behaviors from corporate culture, broken in our connection to the actual art element
Mhm.
of design. Um, and you see it when you're in some of these, agencies or in some of these, like, in-house teams.
Mhm.
They're trying really hard to figure out how to bridge the gap between, "Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's do a Friday share, y'all. Like, let's just share some stuff." And it's like, "We're burnt out. I'm gonna do the whole it people are
Trying to go home.
You're trying to evoke some excitement about the
Yes.
work. Like, the work is not exciting."
Right.
Um, yeah, I think people are burnt out. I think there's a level of empathy that we've lost. There's something in, like, a creative director telling me, like, "Yeah, just play around." I'm like, "This isn't playful. This
Mhm.
You want me to play around in a jail cell, so, like, we're not at a playground. I'm at my desk, at my standing desk with,
Mhm.
like, and I hate speaking about the industry in this way because I also feel very privileged and goofy, like, complaining about, "It was really hard at your remote job today."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Don't I
there's
get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a you mentioned that creativity and, like, it wanting things to be fun, and I agreed, like, as an adult, as a working person, this isn't going to be fun all the time.
Mhm.
But what we're making has elements of play that we're trying to pull, and we can't pull from nothing. We're literally I feel like I'm watching my design colleagues pour from nothing sometimes, pour from exhaustion, pour
Mhm.
from, apathy, pour from, um, disconnect. Uh, and I think what I'd like to do in the next 5 years, I think it looks like using design for just a much greater purpose. That's a long way of saying that. Yeah, I wanna get into design therapy. I wanna look at what design can do for, mental health and what mental health can do for design. I wanna talk to more designers, at all levels, about, uh what do we call it? I was talking to my friend about this. We were talking about, career burn or,
Mhm.
career heartbreak, and it's that feeling like when you leave a job or you quit or you get fired, but all those interactions you've had with your superiors, is still there no matter how ugly. We're constantly making relationships with people over the years, but and sharing parts of ourselves artistically with each other, and then those things get severed. There's something that breaks, I think.
Yeah.
And then here comes the jaded, 30, 40-year-old, like, just
Not here to listen to it. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So what do you want the legacy to be for you that you hope to leave?
I would like to be known as someone who activated and radicalized, people that helped people to think differently and wasn't afraid to uh, say the thing. That's gotten me into some trouble sometimes, some good trouble, some bad trouble. But I do think that I have a very strong perspective, that I like to share, and that I also think would free a lot of people from,
Mhm.
some heartache that we're feeling but not naming.
Okay. All right. Let's have a little bit of fun here.
Okay.
So these questions you just blurt out first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. All right.
All right. First one. What is the one creative tool or software you can't live without?
Adobe Illustrator.
Not the whole suite, just Illustrator?
Oh, I love Illustrator was my best friend when I had no friends.
Okay.
Canon on Illustrator.
Okay. If you could collaborate with one brand or artist, who would it be?
Hmm. Um Tiana Taylor. Brand wise, I would love to work with Converse. Love Converse.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could make the soundtrack to any campaign, what brand would you choose?
Oh, Converse. Yeah. No, MTV. Old MTV. I love MTV.
Like played music videos, MTV?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Use MTV. I don't know. In my mind, they're doing like a documentary about MTV, and I'm just working as a sound engineer, like putting together like the sounds of the times. Like, yeah, I would love to do that.
Okay. Fill in this blank. Creativity is
Freedom.
freedom. That's a good one. Okay. Let's think. Excuse me. One last one is what is a piece of advice you received that changed the way you approach creativity?
It's a great question.
What is a piece of advice you received that changed the way you approach creativity?
Wow, I've gotten so much great advice over the years. I've never considered just what the I guess I'd just say, like, make cool shit.
Hey, that works every day. That works. That's good every day. That's good every day. Okay. All right, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, we just had the great King Cooley on here. Where can they find you? Do you have anything coming up that they can check out?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at King Cooley Official. And coming up, I have a lineup of shows. I'm also doing a guest panelist. I'm a guest panelist at the Coronation here in Atlanta. It's a music event for independent artists, helping give resources to independent artists. I will be talking about branding. How to build your brand. And that's in connection with my music marketing cohort that I am as well. Um, yeah, what else is coming up? We are working on elevated spaces. So Elevated Design Agency is now building out actual like spaces, residential spaces, retreat spaces. So that's been really fun. And music wise, I have a project coming out called Kiln. And yeah, that's about my experience with a really unfortunate house fire that I was in. last year, apartment fire I was in last year, and, yeah, it's about the process of, going through fire, metaphorically, figuratively, and, coming out hardened.
Okay. Well, you guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. My name is Justin Robinson, the great King Cooley, Katrina Lenzly, let me say it correctly. And this is the Art School Graduate Podcast. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.